Greetings, Yako. Hello, everyone. Want to come and share some time with you to do a little catch up. Again, we're recording this to you from Nakuru, Kenya. And I want to talk a little bit about romanticizing the continent of Africa in general from a Black American experience. Generally, back in America, we think of Africa as somewhat still nostalgic, primitive, and we may even be naive about a lot of things about the current situation on the ground here in Africa. Particularly, I can only speak directly to Kenya. So a lot of the social problems that Black Americans or Americans in general have been experiencing has crept its way onto the continent of Africa. There are a lot of single parent households, what we call single parent households. Religion is really a big part of manipulating people emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially. And an overall breakdown of the social structure, the family, nucleus family structure, has unfortunately been a part of the regular life of Africans, particularly for me in Kenya. It's very sad to see. I see so many similarities of the social ills that have affected American families, that has affected marriages, that has affected the church in general. It's also now having a very negative impact on the social structure of many of the cultures and countries in Kenya. So what do we do to address this issue? How can we address the issues economically, spiritually, relationally, socially, and even politically? You know, most people here on the continent, I find, they emulate everything from America. They seem to think that everything American is better than African. They think that America or Britain or France or any Western country, any former colonizers' country is better than the country that they have established. And for many reasons, that is not true. But one of the things that are negatively affecting African nations that I see here in Kenya, and I see some of the news from neighboring countries, besides Ethiopia, that is, that those who are colonized still have ties to their colonizing nations, whether that's through their economy and the currency they use, the language they speak, the educational systems that they educate their children in, and even the political structures, for the most part, are formed on a pattern of their colonizing nations, which doesn't work here in Africa. This is why we see so much continual upheaval with instability in many foreign nations, because Western interests are still in Africa or on the continent of Africa, though technically the colonizers have left and now you're able to manage yourselves. But just as it was when the Black American slaves were freed through the Emancipation Proclamation issued by President Abraham Lincoln at that time following the Civil War, a lot of the Black slaves chose to stay with their slave owners because they knew no other life. They had nowhere else to go. They depended on the slave master for the land they farmed. They depended on the slave master for the food they ate, for the clothes they wore, even for teaching them their language and English language. Even, some would say, even taught them their religion. And so you had an identity crisis among Black Americans immediately following slavery, and to some people still try to hold on to some vestige that is still impacting Black Americans today, which may or may not be true to different and varying degrees. But here on the continent of Africa, outside of those nations that were directly colonized, and even for those that were not directly colonized, the one that comes to mind is Ethiopia and perhaps Liberia. The overall thinking is that the West is best. Now, if you're thinking about financial material, then I'm not going to say that the West is best, but let's say the West has more accumulated financial and economic success, depending on how you measure the word success. They have more access to larger sums of money. Their currency is valued higher than most, if not all, African nations' currencies. So the economic power is there, which usually equates to military power and political influence, all on a global scale. And that seems to be the impact that anything Western, I'm from America, Black American, so anything that's American, people crave for. The music, the movies, the pop culture, the clothing styles, even mirroring the religious practices of Christian churches. And it's having a very negative impact on the continent and particularly the individual people. I'm in contact with many people here in Kenya. Kenyans are very spiritual people. They were brought up in quote unquote Christian ideology, and people try to practice their faith as it's been imparted into them, which is obviously not always in their best interest and not being expressed in the true, authentic ways in which Christ wanted to be displayed in the earth. So there's a lot to be desired for the nation. But at the same time, many African nations, particularly Kenya, has a wealth of things to offer outside of material things. The people will have apt intellect. They speak at least 3 languages, most people. In America, we only know English. Maybe you learned another language in school, French or Spanish or something to that nature. But here, they brought up in what they call their mother tongue, and Swahili is an official language as well as English is an official language here. And so the people are very intellectual. They have very high intelligence. They're hardworking people. The main negative thing that I'm seeing is some of the political structures don't have as much stability as you would desire. In America, if we call the police, regardless of what we think about the police system in America, if you dial 911, more than likely a police officer will show up at your house within 3 to 5 minutes. Here in Kenya, that's not the case. They say it may be hours before a police officer arrives. Their criminal justice system is in the police system in general is where America used to be maybe 30 or 40 years ago. So many of my Kenyan colleagues are surprised that American police now wear body cameras. But that's a reason for that, because there was the same type of corruption that seems to still be prevalent in a lot of African nations. A lot of the beatings, police brutality, and even with the cameras, we still witness some incidents of police excessive use of force, really killings that seem to be unjustified being displayed on our local news stations. All you have to do is turn on the national news, but particularly turn on the local news for any major city in America, Atlanta, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and you'll see what the daily happenings are in the cities across America. Many of you may have been aware that the current president has stepped up the publicity of deporting people, but all presidents, even before him, have deported people back to their nations. They didn't just use it as a television show. That's the only difference between the current administration in America as opposed to former administrations. All presidents deported people back to their countries, but not all of them chose to publicize it as a movie or as a reality show. And so there's a lot of dis-ease in America. You've probably seen protests about various issues, illegal immigrants, about providing support or financial support for those who are legally in the country. Also, the different type of wars and foreign policy, the trade tariffs. I'm sure you've seen a lot of information about that in America. And so I don't have anything to tell you to dissuade you about America. America's society and culture and news speaks for itself. You take it as you see it. Kenya has the same or similar issues. They just seem to be like 30 or 40 years behind the progress that have been made in America. And it appears that most African countries are experiencing some of the same things. But culturally, intellectually, particularly here in Kenya, weather is one of the top-notch things. It's like early spring or late fall all year round. And of course, we don't have to continue to talk about the financial inequalities. American money does so much more here than it can do in America. But you can still have a great life there in America if you just find your purpose, find what you're here for, what you're designed to do in life. Live the life that you're led to live, not the life that people try to dictate to you. That's very big in America. People try to define happiness, define your success, define beauty, but you have to have your own definition for happiness and joy and beauty and success. No one else can define success for you because your success is not like everybody else's success. So I really want to do that to encourage you to find your place in this world. Your path may be different than anybody and everybody around you, but whatever path that God has you on, I believe that path leads you to a place of peace, a place of wholeness, spiritually, physically, financially, immaturely. You'll find peace, you'll find contentment in life, which is what a lot of people don't have. They have the biggest houses, biggest cars, they have the biggest bank accounts, they have the biggest positions in their businesses or companies, but they have little peace, joy, contentment in life. Don't let that be you. Make peace with yourself. Find peace within yourself, and you'll find peace in your environment. Start to mirror what's on the inside of you will show up on the outside of you. And also the churches, you can't find your answers in churches. You can only find your answer in Christ, a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And so I exhort and I encourage all of you. You may have been hurt by people in the church. You may have a bad taste in your mouth about Christians or Christianity. Well, that's fine, because a relationship with God is not about a religion. It's not about Christianity. It's not about Islam. It's not about Judaism. It's about a relationship with God that expresses itself with love for others as God has loved us. If you would build your foundation of your faith on that principle alone, you will be closer to finding the reality of who God is, what God is, and how God works and manifests His will in the earth. So we've been praying for those who have been grieving through the loss of loved ones. Some lost their spouses, some lose their children, some lose close friends, moms and dads. We certainly pray and sympathize with all of those who may be going through a lot of pain and suffering in this world. But you cannot drown that pain. The pain won't go away on its own. It takes the help of God. It takes loving, caring people. It helps. It takes you developing a good mental mindset, knowing that God has never abandoned you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. No matter how bad your situation in life may be, know that God still offers hope, offers help, offers peace to you, even in the midst of your storms. But know that others are praying along with you. I know we've had some close colleagues here who have experienced death of close loved ones, and we're certainly standing with them during this difficult time. And all of you who are maybe out there listening, who may feel alone, feel like you're isolated, I encourage you to reach out, talk with someone. First, if you don't know God, learn more about that relationship with God, but reach out to those who you feel a good sense of well-being and trust with, and just reach out and let someone know what you're thinking and what you're going through. Let others pray for you, and pray that God will be able to lead the right people in your path that will bring you some comfort and help and hope in your life. So I may have rambled about various things on this broadcast, but there were a few things on my mind that I really wanted to get out, and I want to encourage all of you who are looking to find your place in life. First, find it within before you find it without. Find it inside of you before you look for your peace outside of you. Money is not going to be the solution for your problems. Money will only allow you to buy more things, have more things, eat in fancier places, but it will not bring you more peace, more joy. Money will not love you, your houses, your cars, none of that. So please don't get caught up in this worshiping of mammon, of riches and fame and popularity in this world. As you look at many so-called movie stars or people who are famous in this world, their personal lives are in ruins in many cases. So obviously, if money was the answer to all of society's ills, those who have access to money, they should be living the happiest lives of all the people in the world. But I find even here in Kenya, those with the least amount of goods seem to have the most peace. Just as the Bible says, a man who has much riches have much worries. So it is true. You need to free your mind. There's nothing wrong with having things, but just don't let those things have you. Don't be a lover of money. Be a lover of God and a lover of people. So that's a little time I want to take for you today. But again, I encourage all of you who are trying to find your place in life, you first find it from within you. And if you don't know God, some people may say, I don't believe in God. There is no God. Well, I'll leave that answer to you. But there is something bigger than you in this world. And I hope that you will start to examine what that may look like for you and how you can find out more and maybe embrace different aspects of what brings you peace in this world, because peace is available for you. Well, thank you for allowing me this time to come out and talk to you. Follow your path, the path that God has for you, because that path will lead you to the peace and joy and fulfillment and peace and wholeness that you're looking for. I'll talk with you in the next broadcast. In the meantime, God bless and prosper you. Kwaheri. Talk with you later. Ciao.